Please welcome the past recipient of the Writers Guild Burkey and Jablow Awards, James Schamus.
Good evening. It is my great pleasure to present this year's Evelyn Burkey Award to the inimitable Franklin Leonard. The Burkey Award recognizes a person or organization whose contributions have brought honor and dignity to writers, which, just look around the room, you will realize that is no easy task. Evelyn Burkey was the executive director of the WGA from its inception in 1954 until 1972. She graduated in 1942 from New York University, where she later taught economics before joining the Authors League of America, which then, under her stewardship, became the WGA East. Previous recipients of the Burkey Award include such greats as Sidney Lumet, Walter Bernstein, Joan Didion, and in an off year, James Piazzadora Schamus. This is not an award, it is rather an honor. And it is an honor made that much greater by the fact that Lumet, Didion, Bernstein, et al. Now get to share it with you, my friend and comrade, Franklin Leonard. Now, I must admit, that just saying your name throws me into a slight panic. It's not that I'm simply in awe of your achievements as founder and CEO of The Blacklist. You have probably done more than anyone in my lifetime to raise the status and visibility of writers, especially emerging writers, women writers, writers of color. My panic is also born of a constant nagging fear that I'm getting the order of your first and last names wrong. I am sure, and this is actually true, that you've noticed over the years that I've greeted you like, hey, Leonard, Franklin. I mean, you're like a walking, breathing variation of my, being late for my SAT, showing up without a number 2 pencil, and my underwear recurring SAT dream. But I've come to realize that it's this very confusion of first and last, of name and surname, of what's given and what's created, what's shared and what is singular, that actually is the very awesomeness of your achievement and your transformative being in the world. For the Blacklist celebrates what is wholly realized, but yet to be. It takes the work of the often anonymous and often neophyte scribe and forms a community of care, of concerned and connected judgment, of celebration around that work. And while much is made in your sales pitch for the list of the number of films that have gone on to be produced and win all kinds of awards, it's this celebration of work in its inception that I love most about your legacy. I mean, unproduced scripts are, after all, invariably ruined by actually being produced, which is why I still think the WGA should have a special award category for best screenplay ruined by a shitty studio, but that's a whole other discussion. So back to Leonard Franklin and the Blacklist, and the not accidental associations that come with that name. For example, black people and blacklisted people, who are sometimes the same people, though in order to be blacklisted, you actually have to have had the opportunity to have been identified as someone blacklistable. And often if you're black, you're not invited onto that list to begin with. And therein lies Franklin's genius. The leveraging of the power of community to force open the doors of that community itself to new voices, new people, new ideas. It's an incredible hat trick. Crowdsourcing that forces or allows an often insular crowd itself to change its own identity, to diversify and open itself up. So who is Franklin Leonard? To answer that question, I, of course, did what all dutiful presenters do when tasked with handing out awards to someone. I got onto Wikipedia. And it's clear from Franklin's page that it's not all been flowers and champagne. This dude has certainly garnered at least one insidiously powerful enemy. Now, how do I know? Well, read along the Wikipedia account of his career from Harvard to a consultant gig at McKinsey to the CAA mailroom to Universal to Will Smith's production company, Overbrook, where we are told, and I quote, Leonard shared the title of Vice President of Creative Affairs with Smith's brother-in-law and later left the company after 2 years. Now, that is ice cold. I would love to get that story, but tonight, Franklin, no one is sharing credit or title with you. As someone who has enabled so many writers' careers by precisely creating a space for sharing, this moment and this honor are rightfully all yours alone. Even if you will let me now, before bringing you on stage, share my voice with a small chorus of others to sing your praises. Let us roll the clip. Please join me in welcoming and honoring Franklin Leonard.
Yeah, so this is not a practical joke, it turns out. And I know you think I'm kidding about that, but you can ask Bo Willimon later. I was pretty sure it was until right now. James, thank you. Thank you also to Bo and to Lowell and to Dana Weissman and really to the entire Guild. Those kind words and this honor make me sound pretty great. And I say that entirely in jest. You all have bestowed upon me an honor that on my best days, I don't really imagine that I individually deserve. Looking at the names of previous honorees, like James, like Norman Lear, like Joan Didion, like Ken Saro-Wiwa, people who have been my heroes for decades, I'm frankly at a loss, as this speech may give some insight into. Fortunately, I see that my name is on it. Rest assured that I will keep it. But I can't really escape the reality that this award is more accurately a celebration of the work of many, many others whose work sort of flows through me and for whom I get credit for. So I'm gonna thank them very quickly. First and foremost, my parents, Kathleen Leonard and Tommy Leonard. Kathleen is here. Yeah. So anything you see of my work is really just the embodiment of their values. And I thank them for that and also for trusting me when I opted to take a path instead of ones that would have been a little bit more lucrative and frankly would have given them a lot more sort of comfort with the likely security of my life going forward. My fiance, Emma Holly Jones, who has kept me sane and humble and ambitious when I found it very difficult to be any of those three things. Rowena Arguelles, my first boss in this business, who hired me despite having no experience whatsoever, treated me well enough that I didn't run away screaming, and remains a close friend and daily inspiration. Nina Shaw, my lawyer and mentor, who has had endless patience with me when I have sort of been untethered from reality and always brought me back to it. And maybe most importantly, to the rest of the Blacklist team, it's not just me, it's a bunch of people now, specifically Olga Vasileva, Lauren Brown, Kate Hagan, Megan Halpern, Terry Wong, and Dino Simone. On their behalf, thank you for honoring all of our work. Thank you. So it's sort of surreal, and it couldn't be more appropriate that this is happening here in Midtown Manhattan, and that I'm accepting this award from James, because the real notion of me working in film began here in New York, literally like 8 blocks away, like 3 Avenue blocks, but like still, with an article in May of 2002 about James Schamus. In the year that followed, I spent a lot of times at Kim's Video and in the film section of the Barnes & Noble at Union Square, and that was really the primary source of my film education. And that film education led me to 2 conclusions that I assumed rather naively would be quite obvious to anybody who'd spent any time on the subject. The first is that movies matter in a real substantive way. And the second is that movies don't exist without writers. Producers don't have anything to produce, directors don't have anything to direct, actors have nothing to say. Like Amy just said, it all starts with a script. And as a consequence of that, writers were entitled to an inordinate amount of respect and admiration, veneration even. And I quickly discovered upon moving to Los Angeles, and I suspect most of you already realized this, that was not a worldview universally shared. My work and the work of the Blacklist generally is a response to that. Our North Star was, is, and always will be celebrating great screenwriting and the people who do it. You go into rooms alone and will worlds into existence. You are the creators of the myths and legends that span the globe, the mothers and fathers of our understanding of how we have lived, how we live now, and how we might live in the future. It is incredibly surreal to be on this stage tonight for bringing honor and dignity to screenwriters when I fundamentally believe that screenwriters uniquely in the world have the ability to bring honor and dignity to so many others. And you do. But while I have this platform, and while I have any platform other than Twitter, I ask that you do more. Look around this room. Look at the stories that we have told. I ask you to tell the stories of people whose stories have not yet been told. The women, the people of color, the poor, the gay, the trans, the people who are all of the above. Find other writers who can and will do so and give them what they need to have so that they can be in this room, nominated for the awards that you're nominated for and winning the awards that you're receiving tonight. It is good for business, it is good for the culture, and it is good for the world. And you writers are the only ones who can. Whatever happens, I and the Blacklist will be here to help. Until tonight, I have always believed that helping writers was our greatest honor. It is perhaps only exceeded by your actual belief that we have in some way. Thank you so much. It has been the honor of my life. Thank you.